The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, is at the center of a storm that is developing in the world of global banking and is issuing dire warnings about the increasing usage of cryptocurrencies. However, in a surprising turn of events, XRP was subtly commended in the fine print of the IMF's most recent report, despite the organization's continued warnings about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stablecoins. Yes, the IMF is beginning to recognize what Ripple and its backers have been saying for years, despite the strong language and globalist rhetoric. In the context of central bank digital currencies, or CBCs, XRP is more than just a digital asset. It is a global bridge currency that has the ability to completely transform international liquidity. The next course of events may propel XRP into a position so important and disruptive that some analysts think $500 price is not just feasible, but likely. First, let's look at the most current global financial stability report from the IMF. The headline emphasized worries about capital flight, financial criminality, the lack of centralized oversight, and the potential for crypto assets to destabilize emerging markets. However, Ripple's on-demand liquidity system, ODL and XRP Ledger, were mentioned as possible frameworks to facilitate CBDC interoperability in a paragraph titled Operational Use Cases for Cross-Border Settlement, which was buried deep within the text. That's enormous. An organization that has always disregarded digital assets, the IMF is now recognizing XRP as a useful element of upcoming digital monetary systems. Why? Because the liquidity issue is resolved by XRP. It works internationally, offers real-time settlement, and does not rely on correspondent banking relationships, a system that has grown more and more ineffective, particularly for economies that are having difficulty. However, the plot becomes more complex. The financial sector has been quite alarmed by recently leaked internal notes from a closed-door IMF advisory meeting that have been making the rounds on analyst channels and cryptocurrency Twitter. IMF advisors talked about utilizing XRP to help debt-ridden countries like Argentina, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and even Turkey in these documents, which have not yet been made public but have been cited by several insiders. The goal is to stabilize these economies by utilizing XRP's liquidity and transaction speed. The people of these nations are experiencing extreme economic hardship as a result of high rates of inflation, currency depreciation, and an inability to pay off foreign loans denominated in USD or UR. The conventional solution of the IMF, special drawing rights, DARs, kind of synthetic reserve asset guaranteed by a basket of fiat currencies, are used to finance bailouts. However, the IMF is currently searching for more adaptable, quick, and politically neutral options in light of growing debt crises and antiquated procedures. Consider this situation. The IMF uses XRP via RippleNet or similar technology to immediately inject liquidity into struggling economies, avoiding middlemen, preventing currency slippage, and enabling recipient governments to execute payments in seconds as opposed to lending stars that must be converted into local currencies via slow, costly forex channels. Science fiction is not what this is. Over 40 central banks and financial institutions around the world are already partners of Ripple, many of whom are situated in the same emerging markets that the IMF is currently debating. The infrastructure is prepared. There is a growing political will. Adoption is the last remaining choice. You might be surprised to learn how near it is. Let's now discuss the implications of this for the price of XRP. The demand for XRP would skyrocket if the IMF, a global financial body, permitted it to replace or supplement DRs or formally included it in its reserve settlement system. With a current worldwide worth of about $1 trillion, stars make up a sizable amount of foreign reserves. The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, uses them mostly for emergency financial help in order to stabilize economies. The financial environment would be completely transformed if even 10% of that amount were turned into XRP for real-time settlement. There would be a sharp increase in the necessary liquidity and token price, opening up new investment options. According to market analysts like Javan Mars and Matthew Breen, This degree of institutional acceptance would cause XRP's price to rise significantly from where it is now to around $500. This is particularly plausible in conjunction with the rise of digital currencies issued by central banks throughout the world, or CBCs, and a decline in the use of the conventional SWIFT system for cross-border transactions. The entire supply of XRP will be cited by detractors as a reason why it hasn't reached such a high valuation. However, when you take into account XRP's distinct burn mechanism, liquidity efficiency, and the reality that the majority of XRP is not in circulation, that reasoning breaks out. Most are kept in escrow and released at specific times. The arithmetic starts to make sense when you combine that with the limited supply required for high-velocity settlement in a liquidity hub model. Unlike Bitcoin, which thrives on speculation and scarcity, XRP thrives on usefulness. Not to be overlooked are the political ramifications. Despite the IMF's official distancing from fully supporting any one asset, it is probably deliberate to strategically leak positive XRP wording, an indication to governments and financial organizations that XRP is now receiving serious consideration at the highest levels. With European and Asian banks speeding up blockchain integration and US regulators easing their position on Ripple, XRP is spearheading the worldwide shift to a new financial infrastructure. What are the whales doing anyway? They're keeping an eye on things and acting ahead of the mob as usual. Massive XRP transactions, including some involving over 100 million tokens transferred from exchanges to anonymous wallets and possibly connected to institutional accumulation, have been reported by Whale Alert in recent weeks. What comes next, then? XRP won't be just another altcoin if IMF advisors keep promoting it as a way to solve global liquidity issues, and if central banks start using Ripple's infrastructure for debt relief and CBDC interoperability. It will develop into a neutral, quick, low-cost asset that supports trillions of dollars in cross-border value movements, serving as the foundation of global finance. At that point, the $500 price prediction begins to seem more like a conservative estimate rather than hope. Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. We greatly appreciate your feedback. Is XRP really the global liquidity of the future? Talk about your predictions and ideas. Our star is going to be replaced by it in the upcoming financial reset. At the moment, this is a popular issue. Please hit the like button to express your support if you thought this video was enlightening. For more genuine XRP updates and to stay up to date on the most recent developments, click subscribe. Additionally, remember to activate the notification bell so that you don't miss the following step. Be the first to know, because you need to be ready if the IMF is about to take action. When significant changes occur, you don't want to be seen dozing off. Remain vigilant and knowledgeable.